Hello and welcome once again to the Words of Jesus series. I'm Don Harris, your host, and I would like to let you know that I really appreciate you coming to this particular point in time and this particular channel to hear more about the words of Jesus. I hope you're getting hooked. I know that I just became addicted to the finding out what Jesus had to say about things, and was never disappointed, except in one case. We'll talk about that as we get there. But never disappointed, essentially, but I was always surprised. One of the things that surprised me most of all was how unchristian he was. Let me explain what I mean. When you define Christianity the way we do in our modern day and in our modern understanding of Christianity, it's pretty obvious Jesus wasn't a Methodist. It's pretty obvious he wasn't a Baptist. It's pretty obvious that he would hardly fit in any conventional Christian setting that I know of. And because of that, because of the 2,000-year time span that separates us, because we don't understand a whole lot about his life and who he was and the way Israel was in those days, the mindset of the people in those days, and there's just so much we don't understand. I'm afraid we have a tendency to put Jesus in some kind of a category. If he was sitting right here with me at the table, which would really be cool for, just to have a tangible person to talk to, that would really be interesting for me, and perhaps for you. It would really help the ratings of this station. But I think that as you imagine what I'm saying to you now of him sitting right here, what do you see? What do you see? When you see him sitting there, a long-haired, sheep-toting Jesus with a big curly-Q staff in his hand, wearing robes and sandals. A lot of people see him just that way and really can't see him any way else. You can't see him wearing a pair of Dockers or a pair of Levi's or a T-shirt or, having a haircut. You can't even see him without a beard. We just can't, all those things are absolutely possible, but we can't see it that way. We've got an idea of Jesus. The reason I put it into the physical is, to make this concept very simple for you, you need to know that, as sincere as we want to be, and as much as we want to know him and love him, and we want him to know and love us, and all these things considered, even though our motivations are good, we still have filters in our brains that when we, and it's the reason that I'm saying that I'm using a physical manifestation of him to explain this. We have filters in our brains that put him in certain clothes. That most people think that Jesus speaks with a slightly British accent because that's all they've heard all their life. They've seen him in movies. He doesn't speak with an Italian accent. He doesn't speak with a Spanish accent. He speaks with an English accent. And so that's what we expect him to say. We don't expect him to say you. We expect him to say thee and thou. These are filters that we put into our heads. And somehow, when we see him, we're disappointed. We can really become disappointed in our fairy tale gods that we make up in our heads. It's really not that we should pray or ask the Lord to reveal himself to us. Because really what you're saying to do is reveal yourself to me the way I see you. I want to recognize you when I see you. And when I see you, I expect, many people think that the Father God looks like Santa Claus. Even to the point of being roly-poly and sitting on on a big old throne. I mean, like Santa Claus does. They have ideas in their heads about what God looks like. Jesus said, forget what God looks like. He's invisible. He's a spirit. He doesn't have a form. You're going to hear him say that. We're going to talk about those very things as time goes by. But we have a tendency to want God to reveal himself to us, but it's not really him. We want him to reveal himself to us the way we have always seen him to be. And in reality, I really wouldn't suggest this because it could be dangerous, physically dangerous, to ask the Lord to reveal himself to us the way he really is. Now, in the spiritual realm, we have filters as well. And for him to reveal himself to us spiritually, or as he told his disciples, to manifest himself to us, to manifest himself to us is a different thing than simply appearing. You understand that? If I walk in the door, I've just appeared to the interior of this room. I've just appeared. But to manifest myself, to the people in the room, but to manifest myself to the people in the room is for every person in that room to know all there is to know about me. Who I am and what I'm all about, what I like and what I don't like. It's a huge task, and I would say that it's a huge accomplishment on the part of God to manifest himself to us. It was Jesus' promise, though. If you'll keep my commandments, me and my Father will move into you, and we will manifest ourselves to you. All right, what does manifestation do to our silly little filters? Well, I'll tell you what it does to it. Let's go back to the physical example of him sitting right here. If outside of the normal doubts and stuff that people would have, if I introduce somebody sitting here with a butch cut and a clean-shaven face and wearing a button-down collared shirt and Levi's, and said, "This is Jesus Christ," outside of our own physical and normal doubts that we would have about such a thing, let's just say that you believed that what I'm telling you is true, and you had no reason to doubt it, and you accepted this person as Jesus Christ yourself. What would that do to your prior understanding of the way he's supposed to look? It would banish it, wouldn't it? Because you've come to the point where you see things like they are. You see things actually in a state of manifestation you've never witnessed before. Another example, that's probably a bad example because, Jesus sitting here at the table with me and all this kind of thing. And it's so far out, people are perhaps having a hard time putting this idea together. But have you ever been on your way to a place that you've never been? And it's a protracted amount of time between now and when you're going. And you have a tendency to kind of visualize where it is you're going. You're going to stay in somebody's home, and you've never been there before. And, we've got a place where we've got a bed. We've got a bedroom with a bathroom in it. And while they're talking, you're kind of building this room in your head. And you're taking information in, and you're kind of building this idea in your head. And then when you get there, it is nothing like what you thought. Absolutely nothing like what you thought. Well, by the end of the day, you have almost forgotten completely what your idea was. Do you play games like this in your mind? I think about this stuff all the time because I'm just intrigued with the way our mind works. Where did I get that idea? Where did I get that vision? Where did I get that picture of this in my head? How come it is that I would believe quicker that a man in sandals and a robe was Jesus than I would a guy with Dockers and a button-down collar shirt. Plaid at that. Paisley. Oh my goodness. I mean, why is one easier to believe than the other? Where did I get the idea? Look, the 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years we live on this earth, we teach our minds how to imagine things. And we actually change memories. Look into this. As a matter of fact, I would suggest a book. Goodness sakes, I can't think of his name, but it's an older book called The Art of Critical Thinking. I can't remember his name, the author of the book, but what a book that is. It actually takes you through some of the processes of our minds to where you can have perhaps 5 witnesses to a car accident, and everybody actually is solely convinced, totally convinced, that what they saw is what happened, and all 5 stories be different. How in the world can that be? How in the world can that be? It's the process of our minds. It's the way we work. And here's, I say all that, half the show gone. I say all that to tell you that we owe it to ourselves to add the facts of what Jesus said to our thinking to dispel the information that we have put into those gaps in our own thinking. We manufactured them, or we let somebody say something that we accepted as true, and we just kind of wrote it in between where the facts are missing. But if you will take the red ink to heart and listen to what he actually has to say, you'll find that, why would he say such a thing? And all of a sudden, you're looking at the whole situation. And all of a sudden, you're thinking, oh, well, this makes sense and that makes sense, but this dispels this thought that I've had all my life. It dispels this doctrine that I've had all my life. It takes this theology and just totally erases it. These things can't be because this is. Now, it's when we're willing to do that, and look, I realize we're in a very disadvantaged situation here as human beings trying to understand an unknowable God. I understand that. But if you want your life to work, you want your Christianity to work, do you want to be able to offer your poor family some idea of a logical, conscious, open-eyed Christianity, not just some silly fable that you just have to believe? Well, sometimes you just got to have faith. Yeah, there's times when you just got to have faith, but not when it's written down in front of you in a book that has given you no reason whatsoever to doubt what it says. You got to have faith in some situations, but not in all situations. You're not allowed to just make up your faith. The Bible says to work out your faith. Work it out with respect, with fear, with trembling, with concern, with an understanding of the grave and dire situation in which you find yourself. This is not a play toy. This is not a hobby. This is not just a matter of what you believe. Well, you can believe what you believe, and I'll just believe what I believe, and you're welcome to your opinion. I have my opinion, and you have your, and all this apologetic back and forth stuff, trying to get along. Look, can we agree on something like the character and the personality of Jesus Christ that exudes from the Scriptures, that comes out of the red ink? Can we agree that this is describing an actual man that walked on the earth 2,000 years ago? I mean, you owe it to yourself. I realize, you're an adult. Your life is, maybe you're on the downhill side. Maybe your life is over. I know what it's like to see that I have probably lived a lot longer than I'm going to live. And I understand that, but you got a responsibility of people who love you and care about you, a responsibility to your parents, to your children, and perhaps to grandchildren, perhaps even great-grandchildren. You have a responsibility to them to be conscious, to be awake, not just see, not just be not asleep, but to be awake and aware. You have a responsibility to them that your Christianity didn't come to you by osmosis. Oh, we've always been Christians in my family. Well, okay, don't be surprised if your son doesn't come home from college a Muslim because he's found his answers there. Is that okay with you? You know, I mean, let's take this seriously. Let's look in here and find out who Jesus really is. Let's see if he wore Levi's and button-down collars. Let's look and see and allow our ideas, our manufactured ideas, to dispel and to go into vapor, into fog and blow away and leave us with nothing but a solid Christian faith in God. Wouldn't that be nice? I just told you my whole motivation. This was my whole motivation in walking away from Christianity altogether, deciding that it wasn't even true. Found myself right back here, found out, oh my goodness, it is true, it's just been distorted. Everything that I've learned is not true, but this is a true thing. This is a real thing. Jesus Christ really did walk on this earth. He really did come to redeem us. I owe it to myself and everybody that I love and care about to give this my best effort. Not become a radical, not become some kind of rock-throwing guerrilla Christian, not out there, trying to, find false doctrine and root out bad theology. Look, get it rooted out of yourself first. And then, you know when you're going to know that you're ready to approach the world about their false doctrine? When you do that because you love them. And it's done in love. Not, if it turns into an argument, something's wrong somewhere. Back away. Make it real within yourself first. And then allow and let and just kind of sit back and, offer answers, not questions. Another thing that we do as Christians is we feel that somehow we're compelled to go out and to ask people questions. Do you know if you died tonight that you're going to heaven? Are you as sure for heaven as if you were already there? Do you know that you're not going to hell when you... And okay, we're going to go, what we're going to do? Go through these 20 questions here? Is that what we're going to do? You're going to ask me all these questions and I'm going to answer them? Is that what's going on? You call that evangelism? It's not evangelism. The Bible says that we are to be ready to give an answer for the hope that is within us. But nobody's asking. That's because there's no hope in you. There's no difference in you and everybody else. What you need to try to cultivate is the difference. And when you cultivate the difference, you don't have time to answer all the questions. But you see, then you've got somebody asking, don't you? Which is a different thing altogether in a lot of people's cases. That's evangelism. You want to know about the hope that's in me? Let me tell you about the hope that's in me. Now you got a premise to even talk about. All right. These things are simple, but unfortunately, we just rather do it the hard way. Let's continue with our reading. I'll start over. It's short. And the fame of Jesus spread abroad all about the region of Galilee, and later Jesus went to a solitary place to pray. And great numbers came seeking him. When his disciples found him, they said, Master, all men seek for thee. There's a crowd out there. Jesus replied, let's go into the next town, that I may preach there. Therefore, I came forth. I have to preach there. I can't focus all of my time in one particular location. These people are asking for me? Well, they're right where they need to be. They're right where they need to be. This is what I'm here for. They're asking for me. We've done our job. The gospel has worked its magic. I hate the word magic. The gospel has worked its power in this city. Look at all those people out there. They're all asking for me. That's exactly what the gospel is supposed to do. This is exactly what it's supposed to do. You know what, guys? We're done here. We got to go to the next town. I got work to do. Yeah, but they're asking for you. What am I supposed to do? Go out there and just answer their questions and wait for the next barrage of questions? Look, these people are they're totally immersed in the gospel right now as we speak. The gospel has changed their hearts. It's turned them toward me. It's turned them toward my Father. They'll find their answers. They're going to be just fine. Let's go to the next town. Do you know, that just doesn't sound like a guy that's trying to build a church, does it? I know that the common understanding is Jesus came to build his church. And I think that because we don't understand what church is, number one, and we have the conventional idea of church, we have a tendency to believe that Jesus came to gather large groups of people that'll put his name on a sign out front, that is willing to be the pastor and the treasurer and the secretary and the janitor and whatever else, the pew padding committees and all the things that we associate with church. We're kind of thinking that that's what he did. But no, that's not what he's doing at all. He's saying that there's such a thing as the church of God, which is Israel. No. We're not talking about real estate here. We're talking about what Paul called spiritual Israel. These are the people who have prevailed with God. You remember where the name came from? He gave it to Jacob, didn't he? After Jacob and the angel wrestled all night long, right? And he finally came out of that fight and said, I want you to bless me. Well, okay, I'll bless you. You might not like it, you might not understand it, but here's your blessing. You're no longer going to be called Jacob. You're going to be called Israel because you prevailed with God. See, so the name Israel is not attached to a hunk of dirt over there in the Middle East, no disrespect, but it's not connected to a piece of real estate. It's connected to the people who have striven with God, who have worked out their salvation. It's people who have prevailed with God. They've prevailed. They won. They made it. And the people who make it are called out. Thus the word ecclesia. Thus the word church. This is my church, he says. Now, my church is a little different than the other church, the one that we've all known in the Old Testament. I realize it's the same, one and the same as far as people may be concerned. But he says that, now I'm going to build my church a little differently. I'm going to build my church on revelation. That was built on education. That was built on reputation. That was built on familial ties, on who belongs to who, what name you have, where you happen to live. The fact that you keep his commandments are as important today as they ever were. But this is one of the criteria that built that church. Who belonged to that church? Well, I understand the first members were Adam and Eve. I understand they had 2 other members join, but one of them fell away. Do I need to go through this list? I'm telling you, this goes all the way back to the beginning. There's always been a church of God. It's one of the asinine ideas about what's called replacement theology. You familiar with this? Replacement theology is the idea that Jesus came to replace the house of Israel, the families of Israel, the idea of Israel has now been replaced with the church. It's silly. It's a silly premise because it's built on a bunch of men's ideas having to be true in order for this to be true. But the truth is, there's no replacement going on. It's the same thing. It's absolutely the same thing. The only thing Jesus changed is, from now on, it's going to be built on revelation. This is something that essentially you, and I say you collectively, and I would say the majority of Christians today, are taught to stay away from revelation. Don't get your own private interpretation, because that's not kosher. That's not good. It's going to lead you off into error. What's going to lead me off into the error? The Spirit of God? The Spirit of God is going to lead me to error. Well, you just may not know if it is the Spirit of God. It might be the spirit of the devil. Well, if it's the spirit of the devil, I'm going to hell anyway. So what's the difference? These arguments are absolutely hollow. We need to have a relationship with our God, that we can hear His voice within ourselves and let Him lead us and guide us into all truth. Yeah, boy. This is such a perfect gospel. Why don't people preach this? Why don't they teach this? Why do they teach people to be afraid of revelation? To be afraid to hear the voice of God for themselves? I don't know. Time's gone again. We want you to join us next time to hear more from the words of Jesus. I'm enjoying doing this series. I hope you are too. And if you are, would you write to me? Don@thinkredinc.com. I'll tell you something else I'd like you to do is let your station know that you're enjoying this program and that you appreciate them airing it. Because, I don't know, stations don't hear from me as much as they should, as much as they could, absolutely. But I want to hear from you, and I would love to know that you tell the station how much you appreciate this program. So do that, will you? If you'd like to write to me, Think Red Ink Ministries, P.O. Box 718, Pytown, New Mexico, 87827. So time is out for today, but we'll see you next time. Until then, Don Harris, Think Red Ink. Bye-bye.